Hey y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am back yet again. As usual, I wait for a few minutes before I start talking because you all know that I can talk. So happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday. All right, so as I always want to know, where are you streaming from? Y'all drop me some comments in the post. So I'm gonna give it a few minutes for people to log on and let me know, where are you streaming from? Post me a comment. Where are you streaming from? Let's see. And let me know if you can hear me okay as well. Can you hear me okay and where you streaming from? And we are going to get started real soon. We'll be talking about 3 hair loss mistakes to avoid. Hey, Miss Linda from North Carolina, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Can you hear me okay? Stream's okay? From Sweden, Cool J. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. From Sweden, welcome. I love our international audience. Yes, New York is in the house. Frankfort, Kentucky, welcome, 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 welcome. Ohio, hi, Lakeisha. Welcome to my stream. Okay, my neck of the woods, Washington, D.C. Hey, baby K. Baby K, that's cute. I'm Karen, and I'm the youngest of six. So anytime I see the word baby, I think about my mother calling me baby because I'm the baby girl. Doesn't matter how old I am, I will always be baby K to her. Okay. All right. We have Alabama coming in. Welcome, y'all. Anybody dealing with hair loss out there? Anybody dealing with hair loss? And baby, you're the youngest too. So you get it. Yes, you get it. Hey, Roz. Hey, Tyree. Welcome, y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I know it is Friday afternoon. I don't know what the weather is. Well, I'm sure the weather is fabulous in Florida, but I'm sure it's fabulous in Texas. It's probably nice in Alabama. But on the East Coast, our weather has shifted a little bit. And I think it might actually be spring. It's like almost 70 degrees outside. It's Friday afternoon. So I will not keep y'all long today. I say that every time I do a live, but this time I'm gonna try to stick to my word because I know you probably want to enjoy the weather if it's actually springtime. Hazel from Trinidad, welcome, Hazel. Hazel Ann, welcome, Hazel Ann from Trinidad. All right, so someone's dealing with hair loss after menopause. Oh, I know the struggle is real. I get it. Um, okay, let's see. Is it 2:05 yet? About 2 more minutes, y'all, and then I'm going to get rolling. Again, if y'all have any questions, by all means, you can drop them in the comments. We have Michelle from Maryland. Welcome. Well, let me go ahead and allow me to introduce myself for those of you who do not know me or who do not follow me. My name is Karen. I am a licensed cosmetologist and I am a certified trichologist. So, for those of you who do not know what a certified trichologist is, it simply means we really specialize in hair loss. So, I have additional education beyond cosmetology to specialize in hair loss, to consult with women who are dealing with hair loss, to provide treatment plans for women who are dealing with hair loss, to help women and men determine why they are dealing with hair loss and to help them. So I started out focusing on hair, but then I shifted because I became really interested in why women are losing their hair. So now that's what I focus on, healthy hair and helping women and men to restore their hair. But wait a minute, I see Florence from Kenya. Hey, Florence from Kenya. Awesome. Thank you for joining. As a matter of fact, Florence, I was speaking to someone yesterday about the possibility of going to Kenya. Won't be till next year, and I'm probably talking too quickly, but I talked to someone yesterday about the possibility of going to Kenya next year. So you might actually meet me sometime next year. So keep in touch with me. Okay, so I'm going to get started today. I'll be talking about the things that you are doing if you are dealing with hair loss, some things that you want to avoid if you are dealing with hair loss. So, again, if you have any questions, by all means, you can drop them in the comments. At some point, I will get to them. But I just want to talk about a few of the mistakes you may be making if you're dealing with hair loss. Just in terms of hair loss in general, there are so many reasons you could be dealing with hair loss. Things from menopause to perimenopause to pregnancy, to hair loss due to medication, to due to stress, due to tight hairstyles, due to deficiencies in the body. There are so many reasons you may be dealing with hair loss. And I know I talk a lot about what you can do to help to restore the hair loss, to stop the hair loss, to stabilize the hair loss. But there are a few things that I just want you to avoid, things that I've noticed as a practitioner. Um, and as a trichologist, some women are doing that if they're dealing with hair loss and it's incorrect. So I just want to correct some of these things so that I can make sure you're not making these mistakes. Hey, Tara, and hey, Lanaya. Welcome, y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so the first thing, because I'm going to give you three mistakes. The first thing that I do not want you to do if you are dealing with hair loss, I do not want you to stop washing your hair. So I get this a lot. If I get it, if you're dealing with hair loss, you wash your hair, it seems like all your hair is coming out in the shower, all your hair is in the comb or in your brush. So to avoid that feeling of what it feels like to lose a lot of hair when you're cleansing your hair, you just stop washing it altogether. You avoid it. Don't do that. The thing that your scalp needs most if you are dealing with hair loss is a clean scalp. Because remember, your scalp in and of itself creates an environment for healthy hair or unhealthy hair. And when you don't get in the habit of cleansing your scalp regularly, you are creating an environment for unhealthy hair. So if you're already dealing with hair loss and then you stop washing your hair, you're creating this environment on your scalp that's going to further exacerbate the problem. Your hair loss, your hair rather, for it to come in healthy, your scalp needs to be clean. So I want you to think about it just in general. If you ever had a wound or a really, really bad wound and you had to cover it up with gauze, you had to go to the hospital, and then every 2 or 3 days you have to clean it and rewrap it. And you have to do that so that you can stop the infection. You have to keep that wound clean. It's the very same thing with your scalp or with your hair follicle. If there is something that is contributing to your hair follicle being compromised, whether or not it's topical or if it's something within, the hair will thrive in a healthy environment, which is why you have to keep it clean. So do not stop washing your hair if you are dealing with hair loss. So if you are on a schedule of cleansing your scalp once a week, then continue to cleanse your scalp once a week if you are dealing with hair loss. Because if you are dealing with excessive shedding, for example, and if you decide not to wash your hair because you don't want to see all this hair come out in your comb, whether or not you wash your hair or not, your hair will still shed. The only difference is when you actually wash your hair and comb it through and detangle it, you're actually pulling that hair out, or not pulling it out, you're allowing the hair to be released from your hair shaft. So whether or not you wash it or not, the hair is still going to shed until you get till you get to the root cause of why your hair is shedding in the first place. So again, if you're dealing with hair loss, Do not stop washing your hair. That's number one. And many times with shampoos that are designed for hair loss, they have ingredients in them that will help to address whatever scalp issue you're dealing with. So if you're dealing with hair loss, if you are using a shampoo that is designed specifically to combat or to minimize the hair loss, also allow that shampoo to sit on the scalp for at least 5 minutes so that whatever active ingredients are in that shampoo can be activated while on the scalp. The heat from your scalp will help to activate these ingredients. So that's just a tip for those of you who are dealing with hair loss. Let me pop here around. I'm going to get to the next one in a moment, but I'm going to see, I am going to answer your questions, but I'm going to see if there's any questions relevant to what I'm saying here. Okay. All right. All right, let's roll. Okay, so that's the first tip. The first thing to avoid if you're dealing with hair loss. Now, the second thing that I want you to avoid if you are dealing with hair loss, I want you to avoid sitting under a hot dryer. Anybody out there sitting on a hot, if you're dealing with hair loss, is there anyone out there sitting under a hot dryer? Now, I didn't say you don't have to sit under a dryer. I said a hot dryer. Well, quite frankly, even if you're not dealing with hair loss, you should not be sitting under a hot dryer. And you should know the difference between what I call hot and hell. It's two completely different temperatures on a hooded dryer. It's hot and then it's extremely hot. You don't want your dryer set to extremely hot, whether or not you're dealing with hair loss or not, because that can compromise the health of your scalp. Particularly, I want you to think about if you're dealing with hair loss and if the hair loss is at the top of your head. A lot of times when we are dealing with some type of hair loss or hair loss disorder, it shows up right up here, right at the top. And when you sit under your hooded dryer, where does most of the heat go? It sits right up here, right at the top of your head. And depending on what type of hair loss you're dealing with, that heat dries out the scalp and compromises that environment, which is the scalp microbiome or the pH of your scalp. It compromises that and it's going to exacerbate the problem. And with hair loss in general, many times your sebaceous glands, which are your glands that actually produce the oil or sebum, which is like a fatty oil, many times if you're dealing with hair loss or some type of hair loss disorder, your sebaceous gland may be compromised. Therefore, your scalp may not be producing adequate oil or adequate sebum to lubricate the scalp and to lubricate the hair. So if you are sitting under a hot hooded dryer, it is drying out your already dry and compromised scalp. So don't do that. If you're dealing with hair loss, don't sit under a hot dryer. You can still sit under if you have a hairstyle that requires you to sit under a hooded dryer, you can still sit under a hooded dryer. You can set it to a cooler temperature or even a low heat, but just don't do hot heat. And depending on the style, if you're doing, or even if you're doing a deep treatment and you're putting on a plastic cap to minimize that onslaught of heat going directly to the top of your scalp, pull your hair up in a, not literally in a puff, but try to put your hair on top of your head so that direct heat doesn't go so that the indirect heat rather from the dryer doesn't hit the top part of your crown. Okay. So again, if you are dealing with hair loss, the one mistake that you may be making is sitting on a hooded dryer. Don't do that. Okay. I see some questions over here. I'm going to answer the questions in a moment. I don't see anything about what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and get to this third point, and then I'm going to answer your questions. You know, I got y'all. I'm going to answer your questions. Okay. And the Third thing, this is the other big major mistake that you may be making if you are dealing with hair loss. Anybody out there want to take a guess as to what it may be? If you're dealing with hair loss, anybody want to take a guess? What could it be? What could you be dealing? What could you be doing wrong if you're dealing with hair loss? So I already said that you stop shampooing your hair. So that's one thing you want to avoid. And then some of us are sitting under these hot dryers. That's just making our hair loss and compromising our scalp. Does anybody else want to take a guess? Okay, Baby K said oiling your scalp. That is one too. That's not what I was going to say, but yes, let me go ahead and talk about that. One of the things that you could be doing incorrectly if you are dealing with hair loss is randomly oiling your scalp, just getting anything, any kind of oil, and just slapping it all on your scalp, applying all of these random oils to your scalp. Don't do that either. You don't want to do that. Just immediately start applying all these oils to the scalp because you don't know why your hair is coming out in the first place. You don't know what's going on with your scalp. So don't just start applying random oils to your scalp. Many oils are don't oils have different comedogenic ratings. So that's a rating that helps to determine whether or not the oil will clog the scalp or not. And surprisingly, a lot of the oils that we use does not clog the scalp. Many oils, jojoba oil doesn't, castor oil, even though that's a really, really thick oil, surprisingly, that doesn't clog the scalp. The comedogenic rating is low. So when I say low, it's a 2 or below. Jojoba oil, I said that. Avocado oil has a lower comedogenic rating. Coconut oil, on the other hand, has a higher comedogenic rating of like a 4. So even though I recommend coconut oil for the hair, I don't necessarily recommend it for the scalp. But even though a lot of the oils that we apply to our scalp may have a lower comedogenic rating, may not clog the pores, that doesn't mean that putting oil on top of oil on top of oil on top of oil will not build up on the scalp. And that oil also will attach to all of these hair products and all these gels and creams and leave-in conditioners and all this other stuff we put on our hair. All that oil attaches to all of the things that we put in our hair. And that's what causes scalp build up. And that is what may clog the scalp from oiling too much. So that's in part why I say, don't start applying a whole bunch of random oils to your scalp if you're dealing with hair loss without knowing the reason why you are dealing with hair loss. So that's a good one, a very, very good one, Baby K. Let me see what are some other things that what you want to avoid. So another one. See, y'all teaching the class now. Lanaya, you said tight hairstyles. Yes, that's another one. Something else that you want to avoid if you're dealing with hairstyles. Dealing with hair loss, tight hairstyles. Now, your hair follicle, I want you to think about your hair follicle. Oh, this is as the size of a pin dot, smaller than that. So if you are dealing with hair loss, and think about those very, very small hair follicles, and they're very, very fragile, just like your hair is very, very fragile. If you're dealing with hair loss, and if you are constantly doing hairstyles that pull the hair follicle, that creates tension. And tension styles over time, particularly, thank you, Miss Marge, tension hairstyles lead to hair loss or exacerbate existing hair loss. So remember, if you have hair loss, there's an issue with the scalp, with the follicle. So if your follicle is already compromised, either internally or externally, meaning from things going on internally compromising the scalp or what you're doing externally, that too can exacerbate the problem. So yes, protective styling is something you should avoid, particularly protective styles that you have in for a long time. Now, you can have low manipulation styles. So there's a difference, a slight subtle difference between the two. Low manipulation styles, like the style I was wearing recently, I just put in, 2 chunky twists. It's not tight. I kept it in for a week. It doesn't pull on the the follicle. Protective styling, particularly styles where you are adding more hair, like braids. So let me go ahead and put it out there. I am not against braids. I don't wear braids personally, but I'm not the educator that's going to tell you never wear braids. That's not me. I tell you to wear them in moderation, and if you're going to wear them, make sure they are not too tight. So if you have to go and take some Tylenol because you have a headache before, or you have a headache while getting your hair braided, or after you get your hair braided, it's too tight. If you get any style, whether or not it's braids or not, and if you have bumps around your hair fall, around your perimeter of your hair, that's a folliculitis. And that type of folliculitis, traction folliculitis, is what is a precursor to traction alopecia, which is hair loss due to traction or pulling. So if you are dealing with hair loss, avoid the tight protective styles or tight styles. They only make them worse. And one more thing on braids. I don't talk about braids a lot, but I want you to think about, again, your hair follicle being the size of a dot, right? And you have hundreds of thousands on your head. And that hair follicle, that one little dot hair follicle, was designed to produce one or two strands of hair. You can even have up to three strands of hair coming out of one hair follicle. But think about the size of a hair strand. The size of a hair strand, on average, give or take, think about the size of a piece of thread, depending on your texture. Your hair strand is either smaller, about the same size, or a little larger than a piece of thread. Okay, y'all got to work with me because I'm talking this through. I need you to use your imagination. So think about weave, right? Think about hair. Our hair follicle was designed to hold the hair strands that come out of our head. Then we get braids, and we add ounces or even pounds of additional hair to our hair follicle. Our hair follicle was designed to hold the two or three hair strands that come out of it, but we add hair to it, and that hair is heavy. And over time, and not only that, the hair is heavy, but we pull it tight because we got to have our edges slick and everything has to be neat and pristine with our hairstyles. And we're adding all this hair and we're putting it in really tight. And then when we take it out, we wonder why our hair is falling out, because our follicle was not designed to hold all of that hair. And this is even more so true when you are dealing with a compromised hair follicle. So if you are going to wear braids, wear them in moderation. What I say, take a braid holiday. So if you get your hair braided for 4 weeks, take the braids out and go on a braid holiday for 4 weeks. Okay, y'all, I'm digressing. Let me bring myself back because I'm passionate about the braids and traction alopecia because I've seen it so much in my career. And it is something that is so, it's that type of alopecia that is so easily fixable. Like it's not, it's such an easy fix. Just stop doing the thing that's causing, stop wearing the hairstyle that's causing your hair to come out. But anyway, I'm digressing. So I'm gonna come on back in. I'm gonna come on back in, y'all. Okay. Let's see. And oh, you learned that? Yes. Don't wear braids. Don't wear them heavy. Yeah, don't wear them heavy. Like I see people with braids like not past their butt, past their knees, and all I see is all of this hair. Like, what in the world? Poor hair follicle. All right, okay. Thank you. I'm glad you got that, Gino. I'm glad you were able to visualize that. Okay, let me get to this last thing in terms of the third mistake that you could be making, and then I'm gonna answer some of your questions. The third mistake, if you're dealing with hair loss, that you could be making, and that third mistake is following someone else's treatment plan. You are following someone else's treatment plan. That is a mistake. Keep in mind that, as I said at the start of this live, there are dozens of reasons you could be dealing with hair loss. countless reasons you could be dealing with hair loss. So if your friend or if your sister or if your mom or if your daughter is dealing with hair loss, don't make the presumption that what they are dealing with, you are dealing with, even if it's genetic. So you can be dealing with a form of hair loss and your genetic alopecia where it's in your genes, it's hereditary. So you make a presumption because your sister has it, then this is the type of hair loss you have. So whatever the dermatologist or the trichologist tells your sister to do, you're going to do it too. No, don't do that. Because many times when you're dealing with hair loss, it is multi-factor, meaning it's more than one reason you are dealing with hair loss. And it is most important that you get to the root cause of why you are dealing with your hair loss in order to stabilize it or in order to regrow your hair. So do not follow nobody else's treatment plan. You need your own treatment plan. Like I said, even if it's someone in your family, that is not enough to do what someone else is doing. I'm not saying in our hair loss, women who are dealing with hair loss, I get it. We need support. We are a community who help each other. So I'm not saying don't talk to someone else about their hair loss or what they're doing. I'm not saying don't do that because we all need support. I'm just saying don't follow to the T somebody else's treatment plan. You have to get your own treatment plan because everyone's hair loss situation is unique. And you want to know why? Because we are all unique. So if you are unique, whatever situation you're going through is unique, and that is unique to you. Okay, whew, coming up for air, coming up for air. So this leads me to why it's important for you to really get to the root cause of your hair loss, because regardless of the treatment plan, you have to get to your root cause. How do you get to the root cause? You can go to a dermatologist. Dermatologist will be able to give you a diagnosis. A dermatologist will be able to tell you why you are potentially dealing with your hair loss. Some doctors may be able to help you. Of course, trichologists. I'm a trichologist. So a trichologists are not doctors. I am not a doctor, but which means I can't give you a diagnosis, but I have been trained to help you recognize why you are dealing with your hair loss and to help you come up with a treatment plan. And with that, many times trichologists will work with dermatologists. We will work with a treatment plan that your dermatologist may give you. The difference is many times the trichologist, we are going to take a holistic approach, meaning we're not going to just say, hey, you need to use this one product. This is all you need to address your hair loss. 9.5 times out of 10, that is not the answer. The only time that really, really works in terms of just applying a product is if you're dealing with something like how I said, if it's just traction alopecia. So if it's just traction alopecia from wearing braids and you take the braids out and you notice that your hairline is weaker, you can use a topical product to support growth, but you also have to stop wearing the braids. But so trichologists, we really take this holistic approach. We go on a fact finding mission to find out why are you dealing with hair loss. We're going to ask you a ton of questions, and most of the questions are not going to be about your hair, surprisingly, because it's not all about the hair. Hair loss or your hair many times is a barometer of what's going on within or of your health. So many times we're going to ask you questions about what's going on within. What type of medications are you taking? Are you under any stress? Did anything stressful happen? What about the hormones? Did you get this checked? Did you get that checked? Are you deficient in this? Are you deficient in that? So we take a holistic approach, and that is the type of treatment plan that you need if you are dealing with hair loss. And that is what my program, Let's Get Growing, it's all about. In Let's Get Growing, my 7-week program that actually relaunches on April 16th, it is all about taking you on a mission to figure out what is going on with your hair while you are having hair challenges and what can be done to improve the health of your hair and your scalp. It's a 7-week program, y'all. It is fabulous. It is very, very comprehensive, as you can see from the screen. It is a comprehensive hair growth program. And I promise you, it is not all about my product line, because those of you who know me know I have a product in a product line that helps to support hair growth. But the program is not about the product line at all. It's about you. So if this program is something that you are interested in, it starts again on April 16th. So that's on a Tuesday evening. It starts on April 16th. Right now, you can go to curlhouseacademy.com to get more information to register. Right now, the program is on sale for 20% off because I just launched it. So this is my early bird special for those of you who are interested in Let's Get Growing. That program, if you're dealing with hair loss, and even if you've been to a dermatologist and you're not completely satisfied with the treatment plan that your dermatologist gave you, if you feel like there's still hope for your hair, I encourage you to consider the program Let's Get Growing, started on April 16th, y'all. I've had many people sign up for the course. It's fun, it's fabulous. Even though it's a program, even though it's a small group, you do walk away with a customized treatment plan, because that is the goal, that you walk away with a customized treatment plan. So don't get it twisted, y'all. Just because it's a group program doesn't mean you don't leave with your own customized treatment program. That is the way the program is set up. It's set up in a very unique way because, as I said, in order for you to address what is going on the top of your head, your program needs to be unique to you. And as Miss Lanaya said, we are all uniquely and wonderfully made. We are all uniquely and wonderfully made. So your program or your treatment plan has to be uniquely for you. Thank you for that, Miss Lanai. Right on. Here's a high five. Okay. All right, y'all. So I'm going to answer a few questions. Let me see. Let me come on up here. If y'all have any questions about the program as well, starting on April 16th, make sure you drop them in the comments. Lakeisha, I have locks for 1 year. Some of my locks at the roots is very fine and thin, while the lock is kind of heavy. Well, Miss Lakeisha, let me tell you about that. Now, a few things in terms of locks in general. You do know with locks, people always say, well, wow, I have, people with locks, their hair grows faster. No, it doesn't. When with locks, your hair naturally sheds, or period, your hair naturally sheds. And when you have locks, your shed hair never leaves your hair shaft. It just stays in the lock, which is why the lock gets thicker, because the hair that should have left your head stays on top of your head. And that is why many times with locks, the locks do become too heavy and it may lead to hair loss. Now, if your roots are very fine and thin while the lock is kind of heavy, then Lakeisha, that may be your scalp or your hair telling you something, talking to you. Now, if you notice, or even if your loctician has noticed that your hair is getting thinner, so it's not uncommon for your texture or for the hair at the root to not be as heavy or as thick as the lock. So that's normal. But if it's becoming abnormal for you, where you see the texture is changing and it's getting thinner, then that is when I would do something about that. I would not sit back and wait until your locks get so heavy that it starts to pull on your hair follicle where you have to cut your locks off, or your loctician has to start connecting locks. If your loctician starts connecting locks, then that is an issue. If your loctician is connecting your locks, then that is an issue. That means they are getting thinner and thinner. And I'm not talking about just the locks at the hairline. So let me clarify myself. Sometimes when you get your lock started, your loctician realize, okay, I should have made this lock a little heavier. So let me go ahead and connect these locks. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you've had locks for years and you're noticing your loctician is connecting them, or she tells you she's connecting them, then you have a scalp issue. And it is gradual. Normally with hair loss, it's not overnight. With most hair loss, it is gradual. So your scalp or your body is telling you something is wrong. Don't let it get to the point where you have to cut your locks off. Now, I'm not going to come out and say, oh, if you're dealing with hair loss and you have locks, cut them off. No, but you want to get to a point where you treat your scalp before you get to the point where you have to cut them off, or where it is advised that you cut them off. So even in my Let's Get Growing program, I also have women with locks. I've had women with locks who are dealing with hair loss or other hair challenges participate in the program as well. Um, Let's see, Liz, what causes hair loss at the crown of the head in older age, and how can you get it back? Well, in general, crown of the head, usually this is where it's going to show up here and forward. In older age, again, it could be many reasons. Older age many times means menopause. So you could be dealing with thinning hair due to menopause. Menopause meaning your estrogen levels have dropped. Um, are decreasing. And as a result, estrogen is what causes your hair to grow. Estrogen is what keeps your hair in a growing cycle. Estrogen is what helps strengthen the hair. So that could be a reason why your hair is getting thinner. Or you may have a genetic hair loss. And these are just general things. You may have genetic hair loss, and many times in women, androgenetic hair loss doesn't show up until much later in life. In men, when you're dealing with hereditary hair loss, it could show up as a teenager. It can show up in your 20s. With women, it typically shows up later, sometimes 40 and after. So you may be dealing with hereditary forms of hair loss, and all of that pretty much goes back to it being in your genes. Just because it's in your genes, that doesn't mean you can't do anything about it. There are just a few suggestions, because it's hard to really give you specific suggestions on how you can get it back. Because again, you really have to take a holistic approach, Liz, at why you're losing the hair. So if you haven't sought help from a dermatologist or a trichologist, I would recommend it. If your scalp is tender, if it's itchy, then there may be an inflammation component to it. So that needs to be addressed. Inflammation can be addressed through topical products. I have a product, the Curl House. I'm doing this because I'm supposed to have the bottle in front of me. So imagine this is my product right here. You can apply botanicals like the Curl House follicle stimulating growth drops to the scalp to reduce inflammation. You can do scalp massages as well, Liz, to help to encourage growth. So the main thing with hair loss is many times your blood is what helps your hair to grow. And when your scalp is not getting proper blood flow, then the hair won't grow. So you can massage your scalp. Scalp massages are proven scientifically to encourage hair loss as well. And again, the program, the Let's Get Growing, takes a deeper dive into hair loss restoration solutions that's specific to the reason why you are losing your hair. Now, in terms of that androgenetic alopecia, Miss Liz, in general, a lot of doctors or dermatologists will tell you to use minoxidil or Rogaine. I'm not a big fan of Rogaine. It does work. I mean, it's the only FDA approved topical that stimulates the hair. So I do want to mention that as well. But it's a chemical. It does have side effects. I've seen women who've used it in my trichology clinic and their scalp was irritated. If you stop using it, it's one of those medications. If you stop using it, you literally you have to use it for the rest of your life. If you're using it for androgenetic alopecia, because if you stop using it, you will lose your hair. Um, and also, Liz, if it's estrogen related, focus on natural ways that you can increase the estrogen in your body. I actually have a video on YouTube on menopausal hair loss. Check that out when you get a moment. Okay. How do you stop your hair from receding? How do you get it back? So, Nay, This is one of these questions where you have to determine why your hair is receding. So when I think of receding, I think ear to ear. And I think the hairline is, or the thinning is gradually moving back. So how do you stop it from receding? You have to first determine why it's receding in the first place. For example, it could be receding due to what I talked about earlier, traction alopecia. Your hairline is the weakest part of your hair. The hairline front and back is the weakest part, which is why if you're dealing with these traction styles, it seems like it's the first thing to go. So you have to determine why. It could be something, you could have a clinical diagnosis, such as frontal fibrosing alopecia. Frontal meaning is in the front, ear to ear. Fibrosing is fibroid tissue, scarring. Alopecia means hair loss. That type of hair loss is a scarring alopecia. It may be autoimmune. So if you're dealing with that, you really need to go to a dermatologist so that they can give you a biopsy. Trichologists, we don't do biopsies. That's what makes us different. We don't do biopsies. Only a dermatologist can do a biopsy. So if you are receding significantly, it may be something clinical. It may be FFA, or it may be hormonal as well. Hormone changes cause your hair to recede. So you really, again, you have to get to the root cause of why you're losing the hair to determine what to do to get it back. Um, there are, when you determine the root cause, even if it's traction alopecia, like I said, you can apply topicals to your scalp. You can apply, there are clinical trials around rosemary. Actually, there was a clinical trial that indicated rosemary actually worked better than minoxidil. I like them apples. Um, Rosemary, massaging rosemary into your scalp worked better than the FDA approved minoxidil. So, of course, there were some limitations around the study. It was a small study, but you may want to consider that. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel. So, look that up where I give more specific suggestions on things that you can do to regrow your hair. But for you, recession needs to be determined, the root cause of it first. Again, like I said earlier, the things that you want to avoid just putting stuff on your scalp, doing anything. You have to find out why your hair is coming out, y'all. That is key. And again, in Let's Get Growing, that is one of the things that we cover. I help you to determine why your hair is coming out. Your mom's hair around the edges and the crown has shed and she's balding. So Miss Sabrina, just in terms of hair loss, y'all, this is, if y'all haven't figured it out by now, I get really, really passionate about hair loss because I know I've dealt with it myself. So I'm not just telling you something I haven't experienced. Actually, I experienced it for the first time right after I became a certified trichologist. I like them apples. So just when I get certified to treat women who are dealing with hair loss, and I start dealing with it myself, and I'm just like, God, really? Do I have to go through hair? Do I have to experience this in order to treat women? Why did I have to experience this? But anyway, it's something that I'm really passionate about, just in terms of helping women to both save our hair and to help us to restore it and to prevent hair loss. Again, because many times hair loss is preventable. And even if you're dealing with it, if you're dealing with hair loss, if you're dealing with thinning around the edges or in the crown, the best treatment that you can get, whether it's from a dermatologist, whether it's from a trichologist, whether or not you join a program, is to get treatment early. So don't wait. Don't just cover it up. I should have put that in the 3 hair loss mistakes to avoid. Avoid not addressing it. So don't avoid addressing it, rather. Address it. Address it earlier. The earlier you get treatment, the better your results will be, because your hair follicle, unlike your hair that's technically dead. Do y'all know that? You know your hair is dead, right? Once it protrudes, out of your hair follicle is no longer alive, but your hair follicles are alive. Your hair follicles, the root of your hair follicle, is what actually gets the nutrients from the blood, right? And the blood is alive. So once that hair follicle permanently permanently detaches from its blood supply, which is beneath the scalp, or once that hair follicle miniaturizes, meaning once it gets smaller, then it will no longer produce hair, and that's when your hair loss will become permanent. So I implore you to seek help early. So hair loss around the edges, again, it could be traction, it could be hormonal in the crown, it could be female pattern hair loss, it could be CCCA, which is a scarring type of hair loss. It's, you said the crown has shed, it could be telogen effluvium. Y'all, there are so many different types of hair loss disorders. And in order to treat the scalp best, you have to know why it's coming out in the first place. That is the only way to treat it effectively. Effectively is the key word, because if you are dealing with hair loss, let's just say you're dealing with hair loss, you don't know why, and you take a product and you apply it to your scalp and you massage it in, and it's like, oh wow, this is working. Just using this one product. Oh wow, this is working. This is good. This is all I need to do is use this product. And then you notice at some point you'll say something such as, oh, this product doesn't work anymore, or what happened. Y'all, it's not the product, it's the body. Like, products can definitely address external deficiencies, but or topical deficiencies, but once they have been addressed, then you still have to address what is going on internally. That is why at Curl House, I encourage you all, if y'all haven't heard me say it, I'm starting to say it even more, to grow differently. We have to take a different approach to our healthy hair journey. So we have to stop focusing on just the hair. We have to do things differently. I want us to grow differently. I want us to grow our hair differently by taking a holistic approach, a lifestyle approach. We look at the inside and extra and outside. Who's growing differently? Y'all let me know in the chat. Are y'all growing differently with me? And not just growing the hair, just growing in general, like growing as women, growing in our mind, growing in our mindsets, growing in our lifestyle habits, growing spiritually, just grow differently, grow in a healthy fashion. Okay, I'm digressing. But y'all growing differently with me? Somebody give me a high five in the chat. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna get some more questions. Okay, I got a few more minutes. Lakeisha, you have fine, soft hair. You got your hair locked because your hair was constantly breaking off while wet and tangled. So, Keisha, if you got your hair locked because it was constantly breaking off while it was wet and tangled, just excuse me from taking an external approach. I don't know if you properly addressed why your hair was breaking off in the first place. So I think the number one reason that we are not able to retain our length, not grow our hair, because growth really starts from within, but we're not able to retain our length is because our hair breaks off. And many times our hair breaks off in part because we're not properly detangling it, we're not using the proper products, or that's the external approach. But remember, y'all, we are growing differently with Curl House. So if we're doing the internal approach, why your hair may be breaking off, your hair may be breaking off because the hair that is coming in, so inside out, the hair that is coming in is not strong. Strong hair is highly mineralized hair, and that comes from within. So if the hair is growing and it's breaking off, then the hair was weak in the first place coming in. So that may be why, if you didn't address that problem then and you just went into the locks, you could still be dealing with why your hair is why you're having hair challenges now. But again, our Let's Get Growing program, Let's Get Growing, curlhouseacademy.com, that's also in part what we discuss in our program. Okay, doesn't all hair strands have a breaking point or weak spots? Yes. I wish I had my, oh, yes, I'll just explain it. Okay, well, hold on, y'all. Let me go get my example. Y'all know I can't help myself. Um, I don't. Okay, so y'all, yes, all hair strands have a breaking point or weak spots because what happens with curly hair, if you see this, I want you to think about this. Use your imagination now. Okay, this is your hair strand. Okay, this is straight hair. This is straight hair. You know your hair is not straight. Your hair is some version of a curl. Curly hair, curly hair has curls. It has bends in it. And every point, every place that your hair curls is a weak spot, right? That's one. In addition to that, if you look at the way this cloth is, can you see how the hair sits on top of each, it's not the hair, but imagine this is hair, how it sits on top of each other. So when the hair, not only does it curl, the curls wrap around each other too. So the hair strands wrap around each other like this. That's what makes your hair even more weak. So the characteristic of our natural hair is weaker hair because it has curls, and this is called a torsion. So when our hair has torsions, or actually, that is what a kink is. So when we say things such as, oh, I have kinky curly hair, that sounds good, but really, a kink is actually a torsion. And a torsion is a weak spot where the hair wraps around the hair strand on the hair strand, making it a place of weakness. And that is why it is so vital that we know and understand how to care for our hair, how to treat our hair, and that we treat our hair with TLC. Okay, I hope that answered someone's questions. Oh Lord, I got so many questions. Okay. All right, let me get a few more questions. I got a few more minutes, so I'm gonna answer a few more questions. Hey, Miss Abigail, I'm so glad you're able to join us. Okay, let me see if I can pull out a few questions. Hey, here's an easy one. I can come up for air if I'm talking about hair loss. This, y'all, is my wash and go. That's it. So, I have a whole video on my site on how to achieve a wash and go. But generally speaking, a wash and go, I wet my hair, I apply leave-in conditioner and gel to it, finger the curls out, let it sit under the dryer for about 30 minutes and let it air dry. I know you're like, okay, what does all that mean? I have a video on how to do a wash and go on my website. And in Let's Get Growing, we actually do a hands-on class. So in my Let's Get Growing program, if you participate in the program, participants come with their hair clean. They have a list of tools that they need. And for 2 hours, we all play in our hair and we all do a hairstyle. One of them is a wash and go. And at the completion of that particular course, or that particular module, you leave with your hair done, and you have me sitting there watching every single thing you're doing to make sure that you are really maximizing the hairstyle. So thank you very much. Let's see. It's so many questions. Hold on. Let's see. Gina, you said your scalp likes to be washed every 3 days. I tried to wait 7, it doesn't work. So Gina, with washing every 3 days, generally speaking, somebody else asked me about an itchy scalp. Your scalp may be itchy. So if your scalp needs to be washed every 3 days, you don't have to wait to 7 days. The general rule of thumb, I encourage women to wash their hair at least once a week. But if you want to wash your hair twice a week, that is fine. No, that is not an issue. If you wash your hair twice a week, that's fine. Just make sure that you are doing some deep conditioning treatments, maybe once a week, because when you do cleanse your hair, you are stripping the hair of some of the natural sebum. So all you have to do is put it back in. And yeah, pumpkin seed oil is great for hair loss and regrowth. Miss Lanaya, let me go ahead and share the secret with y'all. I'm in the process. For those of you who don't know, I do have a product line, but I'm also in the process of doing some, I don't want to use the word upgrades, but some rebranding, making some changes to my product line. I'm going to re-release it in a few months. But one of the changes that I'm making, Miss Lanaya, since you're forcing me to make this announcement now, is to include pumpkin seed oil. So yes, it is good. So behind the scenes, I'm always studying things like what can I do to improve the products, or what type of what can I learn to share information with you. Yes, pumpkin seed oil is great for hair loss and great for hair loss and hair regrowth because it's actually a DHT blocker. So DHT is dihydrotestosterone, which is the hormone that is responsible for female pattern hair loss. So there's some research around that it actually helps to block that. So yes, it's good, and there are benefits of using coconut water and coconut milk as well. Coconut it's fatty. Coconut milk, because I believe, Miss Lanai, you actually asked about coconut milk. I remember reading it, but I couldn't address it. Coconut milk, the difference is the material of the coconut, the I don't want to call it the fat, but that's what it is. Not the water would actually be the water that the coconut produces, but the coconut milk would be water mixed with the I can't think of the word. I'm going to say the fat, the tissue. Oh, that sounds weird of the coconut, but it's fatty and it has lauric acid, which is what our hair loves, as a matter of fact, and it helps to strengthen the hair. So coconut oil, I mean, not coconut oil, coconut milk and coconut oil, water is great for the hair. Even to rinse the hair, you could do a coconut milk rinse, or you can do a coconut water rinse, and you can also drink coconut water. That's it, y'all. You're growing differently. Coconut water is full of vitamins and full of minerals. Coconut water is excellent to have internally. Coconut water, I fast when I go on a personal fast. I don't drink. I drink water, but coconut water. I drink regular water, but I'll also drink coconut water on a fast because of all of the benefits to the body. So if you want healthy hair from the inside out, remember, growing differently, you can drink coconut water, and make sure it's coconut water, y'all. Make sure it's not this fake coconut water. I mean real coconut water, as real as possible, that you can get wherever you live. Meaning read the ingredients and make sure it's not full of sugar. How you like that? I actually went to Dominican Republic, and I had like actual coconut water from a coconut. Like, they took a coconut off the tree, cracked it, put a straw in it, and I drank the coconut water. It was a bitter taste. I'll keep it real. It is not like the processed coconut water, even the healthy processed coconut water that's here. It is actual coconut water, but it has a ton of benefits. Okay, let me get to a few questions because I am should you wear protective styles for a while? Yes, I recommend protective styles like braids. If you want to wear braids, remember moderation. You can cornrow your hair and slap a wig on. If you like, you can do two-strand twists. The benefit of protective styles is that protective styles will allow you to not manipulate your hair. So manipulation, remember I said I believe the number one reason that we're not able to retain our length, our hair breaks off, is because we have to groom our hair. Like just the touching and grooming and twisting and retwisting and detangling and twisting it up and twisting it down and sun exposure and all the things that our hair has to deal with causes our hair to break off. But when you are in a protective style, you leave it alone. You take out that grooming part of your regimen, and the grooming part, even though grooming is a normal part of our natural hair routine, over time, the more you groom, when you groom, your hair gradually just breaks off, and that's normal. So which is why, we want to keep that at bay. So if you're going into a protective style, it instantly gets rid of that. So if you wear protective style, even if depending on the type of protective style, it's not always the protective style, it's neglecting your hair while it's in the protective style. So if you wear a protective style, I recommend no more than 4 weeks. Some people will stretch it to 8 weeks. That's a lot. But if you stretch it, make sure, depending on the style, that you are still moisturizing your hair. So you are taking a spray leave-in conditioner and you're misting your hair. You can even take a spray oil and put a little oil on your hair. Make sure you are cleansing your scalp, even though you're in a protective style, because you don't want your protective style, you don't want to start to neglect your natural hair in a protective style. And that's what leads to breakage and loss. So I would say 4 weeks. Some people stretch it up to 8. But 4 weeks would be a good time frame for you to rock a protective style. Okay, it's 3 o'clock, y'all. I'm going live again soon. Let me see. Let's see. Okay, I'm glad. Yes, y'all are growing differently with me. Yes. Okay. Yes, look at us. Look at all us growing differently. Yes. I'm growing differently because my hair doesn't like to be bound anymore. Amen. That's what I'm talking about. So I am glad y'all are growing differently. Let's see, Mangu, thank you from Denmark. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me see this question. Leech and Plano. So this is also, yes, do your research, Angela. This is yet another form of scarring alopecia. It falls under the scarring alopecia categories or category. So definitely do your research. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And let me go ahead and wrap up here. What's happening? I'm in the process, I said it earlier, of rebranding. So I'm making some changes to my existing product line. So when y'all go to my website, you're going to see everything is out of the stock. Oh, don't get mad at me. The only thing that's in stock is my follicle stimulating growth drops for now, but I am actively working, y'all. If y'all can see what's behind me, let me go ahead and show you. So these are, when I do a rebrand, I have, okay, here it is, y'all. I'm showing it. These are my new products. These are samples of my new products. So it's my current product line. I've made some changes to them. And I'm also bringing on a styling product. So it's coming. So if you've already purchased products from me, then you're probably already on the wait list. If you haven't purchased products from me, I do have a wait list. I'll typically put the wait list at the end of a video. I don't have it off the top of my head. Or you can send me an email to info@curlhouse.com, and I will make sure that you are notified when the new product comes out, because y'all know I'm extra. So when it comes out, I'm going to have this fabulous launch party live. I can't help myself. So that's what's going on with the product line. So thank you so much for all of you who have supported Curl House product line. I appreciate it. Thank you for everyone who has supported Let's Get Growing, my comprehensive hair program. Thank you for everyone who looks at my YouTube videos, y'all. I appreciate that. I take time to do those videos. I love to do it. If you haven't figured it out, those YouTube videos are recorded right here in my studio and office. So I really do love to share this information with you all. This is my purpose. This is my passion. This is why I'm placed here on this planet, to be the best natural hair educator on this planet. And that is my purpose, and that is what I'm doing. So if anybody has any more questions, if I wasn't able to answer your question, I will be live again next week. You can always send me an email to info@curlhouse.com. It will take me a few days to reply, but you can send me an email. If you have a burning question, you can't wait till I come back, you can send me an email. Or of course, you can join me inside of Let's Get Growing starting April 16th. So Let's Get Growing is set up in this format, but better because it's Zoom. So I'm able to talk to you and you're able to talk to me. And I'm not just looking at my computer screen. I'm looking at beautiful women from all over the world. Okay, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this live. I will see you, I think, on Tuesday for another live. And again, Join me inside of Let's Get Growing at curlhouseacademy.com, or you can send me an email to info@curlhouse.com if you have any questions. Okay, y'all have a fabulous weekend. Love y'all. And until we talk again, stay fabulous and grow differently.